Okay, 2 vocab words. Our first vocab word is multiplicity of 0. So, multiplicity of 0 is the number of times, the number of times an answer appears for a polynomial. Now, if the multiplicity is odd, it crosses the x-axis. If the multiplicity is even, the turning point is on the x-axis. What I say is it bounces. It bounces on the axis. Ooh, come on, get up there. There you go. So the multiplicity is the number of times an answer appears. So if it has a multiplicity of 2, it's going to bounce on the x-axis. All right, and the fundamental theorem of algebra. The number of solutions a polynomial has equals the degree of the polynomial. This includes repeated and complex solutions. Complex solutions are the ones with i's in it, like 2 plus I or plus or minus 5i or something like that. All right, so we're going to solve polynomials by factoring. We're going to set polynomials equal to 0 and solve them and describe their multiplicity. All right, so here we go. What did we do in the last section first? Take out the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is 3x, and we're left with x squared minus 3x minus 4. How does this factor? X squared splits into x and x. Signs are opposite, positive, negative. Factors of 4 are 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. Which of these work? Plus 1 minus 4. Adds up to negative 3, multiplies by negative 4. So, you set all three of these equal to 0. You set the 3x equal to 0, x plus 1 equal to 0, x minus 4 equal to 0. Set all parts equal to 0 separately. Then solve them. Divide by 3, x equals 0. Subtract 1, x equals negative 1. Add 4, x equals 4. You see 3 answers. The degree is 3 on the equation, so we should have 3 answers. So, how many times do you see a 0? 1. How many times do you see a negative 1? 1. How many times do you see a 4? 1. Okay? So they each have a multiplicity of 1. They each have a multiplicity of 1. So the answers are, they will all cross the x-axis. The graph will cross the x-axis at these points. Okay? The next one's going to be a little different than that. What's the greatest common factor? X is, and we're left with x squared minus 8x plus 16. x and x. Factors of 16 are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Signs are the same. They're both negative. Factors of 16 that add up to negative 8 are 4 and 4. So x equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. But you don't have to write it twice because it's the same thing. So x equals 0 and x equals 4 if we add 4 to each side. So this one has a multiplicity of 2. It happens twice. So it has a multiplicity of 2. This one has a multiplicity of 1. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Multiplicity of 1. So if we have 1 of these and 2 of these, that's how we get the third power. So the graph will cross at 0 and bounce at 4. It'll have a turning point at 4. It'll bounce on the axis. So what will it look like? Well, if we end up with x to the third, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we have x to the third and it's positive, it's going to end going up, right? The end behavior. So it's going to bounce at 4 and cross at 0. So the graph will look something like that. It'll cross at 0 and bounce at 4. And that's a cubic equation. What do we do on number 3? What's first? Take an x out. And it's x squared minus 4x minus 1. Okay. Does this factor? And the answer is no, it doesn't factor. So how in the heck am I going to find my roots? If it doesn't factor, we use the quadratic formula. We could do complete the square, but you guys don't like to do that very much. So let's do the quadratic formula. Just on this part, we do the quadratic formula, not the x outside. So negative b is a positive 4 minus the square, what? Minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a plus or minus. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so we should be good. So let's keep going. It's 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus a negative 4, which is 16 plus 4 over 2, which is 4 plus or minus the square root of 20 over 2. Does the square root of 20 have a perfect square that goes into it? 4. So it's 4 plus or minus the square root of 4, square root of 5 over 2. What's the square root of 4? 2. So it's 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 5 over 2. So we divide everything by 2. What's 4 divided by 2? 2. And then 2 square root of 5 divided by 2 is just square root of 5. Okay? So how many answers am I supposed to have? 3. Now one of my answers is going to be x equals 0 because that's on the outside. So my answers are x equals 0, 2 plus the square root of 5, and 2 minus the square root of 5. Those are my 3 answers. Now, they all have a multiplicity of what? Of 1. So it'll cross the x-axis at each of them. Cross the x-axis at each of them. All right, the next one. How many terms do you see? I see 4 of them, so it's probably going to be a factoring by grouping. So I got to move those to the other side. So it's x cubed minus x squared minus 25x plus 25 equals 0. When you solve an equation, get one side equal to 0. All right. So what do I have to do? Since this is a minus sign in between my second and third term, I have to go plus a negative. Then I put in my parentheses. What comes out of my first two? X squared. I get x minus 1. What comes out of my last two? Not just 25, but a negative 25 to get x minus 1. Because I need x minus 1. If I would only take out a 25, I'd get negative x plus 1, which wouldn't match. They have to match. So I get x squared minus 25 in my first set of parentheses, x minus 1 in my second set of parentheses. Do you see a factoring pattern? Yep, sure do. Difference of squares, right here. So difference of squares split up x and x, plus and minus, 5 and 5. So x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. So what does x equal? Here, if we move the 5 over, I get a negative 5. Here, if I move the 5 over, I get a 5. Here, if I move the 1, I get a 1. What's their multiplicity? They each have a multiplicity of 1, so they're all across the x-axis there. 1 more, oh, 2 more to do. 3 more to do. Oh, 4 more. Oh my goodness, there's a few more to do. Oh my goodness, look at this. I need to get this side equals 0, so I have to add 6x to the 5th and subtract 3x to the 4th from each side. So I get x to the 5th minus 3x to the 4th plus 4x to the 3rd minus 12x squared. So if I group them, what comes out of the first two? X to the 4th. I get x minus 3. How do I get x minus 3 out of here? What do I have to take out? 4x to the 3rd to get x minus 3. So it's x to the 4th plus 4x cubed. Oh, 4x squared. Yeah, there we go. And then it's x minus 3 equals 0. Now what can I take out of the first set of parentheses here? X squared. So I have x squared times x squared plus 4 times x minus 3 equals 0. So I said x squared equals 0. X squared plus 4 equals 0. And x minus 3 equals 0. So x equals 0 here. And it has a multiplicity of 2. Because it's x squared. So there's 2 zeros there. Here, if I move the 4 over, I get x squared equals negative 4. If I take the square root, what do I have to do if it's a square root of a negative? Poke out an I. So it's plus or minus 2i. And then x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals 3. So my roots are 0, 2i, negative 2i, and 3. This has a multiplicity of 2. And these have a multiplicity of 1. Because they each appear 1 time. This appears 2 times. That adds up to 5 times. There's the 5 roots. Okay. Now for the ones that are just slightly more difficult. X cubed plus 64 equals 0. What factoring pattern is this? Sum of cubes. This is sum of cubes. What's the cube root of x? Cubed. X. That's my a is x. My b is going to be what? 4. So it's x plus 4 here. And if we take x and square it, it's x squared. Multiply them together, plus 4x. Last term squared is 16. So this part is easy. X plus 4 equals 0. But this, does it factor? X and x plus and plus factors of 16 that add up to 4? No, they're not going to factor. Okay? Sum of cubes, the second one is never going to factor. Okay, so what are we going to have to do? The quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 64 over 2. So it's 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 48 over 2. Biggest perfect square goes into 48. 16. So it's 4 plus or minus 16, the square root of 16, square root of 3, and then there's an I here too, over 2. What's square root of 16? 4. So it's 4 plus or minus 4I square root of 3 over 2. So if we divide them all by 2, it's 2 plus or minus 2I square root of 3. So this one's really ugly. So here x equals negative 4. So our answers are x equals negative 4, 2 plus 2I square root of 3, and 2 minus 2I square root of 3. Okay? They each have a multiplicity of what? 1. How do we know that? Because there's 3 total roots. Are we good to go?
Yes.
Some of these are going to be hard to do. Okay? Some of these will take a while to do. Okay? So I will give you your second worksheet. I'm